Let's go, Sasha. I mean, I know that you're fucking them up. Let's go.
Are we
Sasha.
going to be sharing some of these funds, Dean? Because money's been tight for me lately, and I know the whole socialist aspect. We
So you want
share.
us to hand out?
Yeah, could you please hand that out?
So
With socialism, right? We want socialism.
Whoa.
What is my cut?
Wait, so if you think that handout is socialist and you're asking for that handout, does it make you a socialist?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it means I get a cut of your donations you just got, if that's fair, right?
Okay, so I got you to concede and lose the debate in like 3 seconds. You went from America first to socialist.
Okay, so are no jokes allowed on this your live platform, or is it just strictly just serious conversations?
You can make a joke if you want. Socialist. Now, do you support Trump?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you?
No, I don't. Why do you?
I think he's a strong foreign power against other countries like Russia and China. For example, like him trying to cause the solution of the war with Russia and Ukraine. Like,
Okay.
for example,
If he was
actually,
stronger against Russia than the Democrats, how come Putin wanted him elected?
Putin actually endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yeah, because Putin knows that his voice is very frowned upon in Western media, which would push more people towards supporting Trump. In fact, he paid.
So why would he even endorse Kamala Harris if he's going to be thrown around by the media when the media is completely, mainly the left wing when it comes to
because
CNN?
He endorsed Kamala Harris because of the argument that you just gave.
Absolutely not. He endorsed Kamala Harris because he knows America would be weaker. The foreign powers would be weaker under Kamala Harris.
So then
meaning
why
he
was
could
he?
do whatever
Then why was he
wants.
paying people like Tim Pool and Benny Johnson $5,000 a month to shout pro-Kremlin, pro-Putin, pro-Donald Trump propaganda? And why does Donald Trump's campaign happen to ideologically align perfectly from proven Kremlin propaganda, such as the idea that they inserted themselves into the American media and attempted to convince people that we're giving too much money to Ukraine?
So, like imprisoning and actually unaliving your opponents, kind of like the Biden administration trying to attack their political opponents, which is very undemocratic, which is what Putin does in his government over there. As we all know, he takes out his competitors.
Can you give
which
me an
is what
example
Biden
of the
is doing.
Biden administration basically attacking a political opponent? By the way, this is a pivot, because we were talking about how Putin inserted pro-Kremlin, pro-Trump propaganda into the feeds of many young Americans by paying people like Tim Pool and Benny Johnson $5,000 per month, and how we know is proven Kremlin propaganda that they attempted to insert themselves into Western media and attempted to convince people that we're giving too much money to Ukraine, and that just so happened to be the policy that Donald Trump ran on, and that just so happened to be the policy that Donald Trump implemented, which is therefore so happened to be the policy that made Ukraine weaker, and then emboldened Russia, and that just so happened to be what the Trump administration walked back on by resuming funding in early July.
Okay, so your own argument just literally dissolved itself. You just said that Trump administration is giving more weapons to Ukraine when you're trying to say he did nothing made them weaker, even though he gave more weapons for one.
Yeah, he conceded to what the Democrats have wanted all along.
Okay, so it's completely different sending billions worth of stuff for years and years and years to Ukraine, knowing that they are losing the war. When they did nothing to try to settle the war, they didn't go try to talk to
Serenity,
Putin.
thank you for the $10 over on Venmo. Appreciate you for that love.
Yeah,
Serenity.
thanks, Serenity, for the $10 donation to Dean. The Biden administration did nothing talking to Putin. They went and talked to Vladimir Zelensky. Sure, go ahead, talk to him. That's what you need to do in a solution, a peace treaty between both people. But you need to speak to both people. They did not speak to Putin. Putin actually spoke with NATO plenty of times, but the U.S. government did not want to speak to Putin whatsoever. And that's what's happening right now. The Trump administration is talking to Putin. The Trump administration is talking to have Zelensky over. They're not even trying to do a ceasefire. They're trying to go directly to a peace treaty. And people like you are trying to diminish what Trump just did in Alaska, saying, "Oh, they're laughing, they're happy together at a red carpet event to make them look so good." Even though Trump had the B-2 fighter fly over as an intimidation to show Russia that we're not playing around, that we're much stronger than them. So I don't see.
So then, why was Fox News reporting that Putin steamrolled over Trump the whole time?
I don't care what Fox News is reporting. I care about what's actually happening. The
reason why I bring it up is because Fox News is like one of Donald Trump's, like favorite media sources. They're right coded. They're biased towards Trump, and even they're reporting that apparently Putin steamrolled over them the whole time.
The legacy media is history. The legacy media is dying. Unaliving. The legacy media is going to be gone very soon because the ratings are going down on both sides, and no one cares what Fox News and CNN has to say no more, because I think both of them have nothing to do with what is truly happening. I don't care what they said about this event in Alaska here. I care about
you admit that Fox News has a pro-Trump bias?
Not always, no. They flip-flop. They're like a fish out of water. They flip flop all the time.
So Fox News as a whole is a right-leaning media organization. In fact, they literally lost their legal standing as a news outlet because of a lawsuit that they lost about lying about the 2020 election. Like they're
So
like so far right and so far in spewing propaganda that's pro-Trump that they lost
agree they
their legal
flip-flop.
classification as a news organization,
Yeah,
and now even they're reporting that Putin steamrolled over Trump the whole time. You know, I actually have a question for you about how like America first Trump is, and I see.
Let
that
me say
America
one
First
thing
is in your
before you
bio,
ask
and I'd
that
love to ask
question
you
about
it.
Fox News. Fox News has policies in their buildings that men who are transgender and they claim to be women can actually use the bathroom of the preferred pronoun. So if you want to say Fox News is so far right and they do all this, again, I said they flip flop, then why would they have such a liberal policy implemented in their buildings?
One, I mean, I don't even know how you know the policy that they've implemented in their buildings.
It's public information.
Two, I mean, I'm not sure that you'd be able to give us any evidence or proof of this claim being true. And three, I don't think that this fact has any bearing on the idea that you could literally go to. Oh, go ahead and allow me to finish.
Oh my god.
And three, even if what you were saying was true here, this fact has no bearing on the fact that their reporting is like right coded, biased towards the right, and just about like any any media company that does bias ratings on mainstream media outlets would be able to give you this fact. I mean, I thought it was common sense. You know, if you'd like to see this for yourself, I think that AP does a great breakdown of the media bias in the mainstream media outlets. I mean, I think that Fox News is very consistently placed, not just on center right, but far right. So that's fun. And then second point, your bio says America first. Do you want to put this country first?
Absolutely.
Would you agree that putting this country first would include putting the core values of this country first?
Yeah, the core values, yeah.
Would you say a core value of America is the American Constitution?
It depends because the American Constitution, I don't think it's completely outdated, but the American Constitution was made for it to be questioned in certain scenarios, like the Supreme Court questioning many decisions that are made. They go basically off of the Constitution.
Yeah, well, that's included in the Constitution.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So like, it'd be like, okay, including like SCOTUS's ability to reinterpret, including Congress's ability to amend, like these are all part of the Constitution. So is the Constitution a core American value?
Yes, but I will say I don't believe just because, let's say, U.S. president like Obama or Bush or Biden make a decision that goes against the Constitution and then they get checked by the Supreme Court, I don't believe that they necessarily would be deemed unconstitutional, but I believe our system is made a certain format that a president will make a ruling that isn't correct and they get checked by it. That's checks and balances. That's how the Constitution
Right, I agree. I don't think that doing something that's unconstitutional by virtue is like authoritarian. You know, like for instance, when he tried his first round of student loan forgiveness, he didn't know the method in which he wanted to use was unconstitutional. The checks and balances work. SCOTUS called him out, and he found a new way to do it that was legal. But let's get back to it because you still haven't answered my question. Is the Constitution a core American value? Yes, I have. Is the Constitution a core American value of America?
I already said yes, and I'll say yes again.
Okay, so people that are America first put the core American values of this country first, and a core American value is the Constitution. This means that you put the Constitution first. So would you ever support an authoritarian that serves as a threat to the Constitution?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I believe that Donald Trump is an authoritarian that serves as a threat to the Constitution. One very valuable piece of evidence of this would be Executive Order number 14160, signed into law on January 20th. This executive order rescinded birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants born on American soil. This is strictly unconstitutional. Not only is there SCOTUS case law since the late 19th century to demonstrate this, but it's also just made explicitly clear in the text of the 14th. And when Donald Trump signed this executive order into law, he's either one, incredibly unintelligent and has the media and civil literacy of a third grader, or two, knew it was unconstitutional and still decided to attempt to sign it into law.
You said 141?
Yeah, 14160. It explicitly contradicted the clear text of the 14th Amendment, one of the most important amendments of the American Constitution.
Okay, and is that still what's happening with this executive order? Is it implemented at all, or?
Yeah, nationwide injunctions were offered by federal judges around 1 month after it signed into law. Donald Trump didn't like that. He went to SCOTUS and asked them to ban those. So then SCOTUS made a ruling saying that federal judges can't make nationwide injunctions. So then it was still in effect in some parts of the country. But then federal judges found another way to get it banned, right? Which only further demonstrates my point to be clear that it clearly contradicted the plain text of the 14th Amendment.
Okay, so you're saying your point is right, the Supreme Court's isn't.
No, the Supreme Court didn't rule on the constitutionality of the executive order. They ruled on if nationwide injunctions are legal or illegal. And remember, I'm challenging the constitutionality of the executive order.
Okay, but in this scenario, isn't it the federal judges that keep putting injunctions on certain things, isn't that not allowed because of what the Supreme Court just ruled?
Nationwide injunctions have nothing to do with why the executive order is unconstitutional. I'm confused.
Again,
remember, it's unconstitutional because it like explicitly contradicts the clear text of the 14th. What is the 14th Amendment? Do you know?
Yeah, isn't that the is it the due process one? Is that you're referring to?
Yeah, due process is included in the 14th, but so is birthright citizenship. The very first section of the 14th Amendment is that all persons born on or naturalized as American citizens. Wait, 1 second. I'm going to read it off.
Yeah, go ahead. Read it.
I try to remember it, and then I always trip myself up. All right, got it pulled up. First section says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Boom. Yeah.
Okay,
so
so
an executive order saying not all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens to the United States, explicitly contradicting the clear text of the 14th.
You're saying you interpret the Constitution better than the Supreme Court justices did?
No, they actually interpret it the same as I do. I'm confused.
Again, they rule against the injunctions, so I don't see what your point is here.
They like about national injunctions on like anything being like unconstitutional, not if the executive order was unconstitutional.
Correct. So what's going on?
Remember,
I'm
not trying to argue that nationwide injunctions are constitutional or unconstitutional. I'm arguing that banning birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants through an executive order is unconstitutional.
Okay, but what is I go back to before, what has the Supreme Court done about this?
What has the Supreme Court done about the EO?
Yeah.
They haven't made a ruling on it?
Okay, and why aren't they looking into it?
Why don't they rule on like a billion things? Who knows?
Okay, so I don't think if this was truly unconstitutional, I think the Supreme Court would be doing something about it, you know?
Okay, so then what is the argument that it is constitutional?
I haven't read the executive order, so I can't speak for that. But I'm just saying,
okay, well, then here's the argument. Here's the argument that it's unconstitutional. The 14th Amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. Right. And the children of undocumented immigrants born on American soil are born on American soil and are subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. law, meaning that they're therefore citizens in accordance with the 14th. Boom.
Sure. I mean, I'll take whatever words you're saying, whatever you're reading from, I'll take it, whatever. But I would gladly discuss any topic that we both have knowledge on. But like I said, I'm not going to discuss an executive order that I know nothing about and haven't even read.
Well, I mean, I think that it's incredibly important for us to discuss this because this definitely would be counter to your quote-unquote America First agenda.
Sure. Again, if you... Oh, he disappeared. He's hitting his anxiety pen.
Yeah, let's plug it in.
Again, like I said, if I had education on this executive order from my own personal research, I would gladly have a good faith debate with you, but I don't have any information for reading this executive order, so I can't have a good faith debate with you because I shouldn't have an opinion on it because I haven't read the executive order. You can say one thing, and I can say, okay,
I'm so proud of you.
I understood what you said, but I don't know the executive order.
Your family
Like I was just speaking to you about Russia and Ukraine and the United States, educated on that, and you kind of just disappeared from that argument.
So I didn't disappear from that argument. I
you
responded
did.
to what you said, and I wrapped this in due to the fact that your bio says America First. And also, what is your second repost? Everybody in the chat keeps spamming me about it.
I have no idea what my second repost is. I'd have to go look at it.
Yeah, I want to look at it together.
If you want to look at it, like, can I look at it from here? I don't know how to do that.
You can't. I have to pull it up on my laptop. Let's listen to it together. Then also, while I'm pulling up your second repost here, I just generally think your argument is kind of a cop-out. You know, it's like
it's
basically
not.
Basically, what you're telling me, like, because I'm supplying you all the information that you need to know, and you're just not accepting it, right? And the reason why you're not accepting it is because you're telling me that you've done no research on this on your own. But like basically what that would be suggesting is that you are like valid and not holding an opinion on X if you haven't done any research on X, which means if you never do any research on X, then you never have to hold an opinion on X, meaning that you could continue to like prop up the quote unquote America First agenda and just simply ignore and do no research on anything that Donald Trump is doing that is counter to said agenda. But let's go to our second repost.
Some of you white people really need to hear this. You're awesome. You're doing great.
Shout out to Kai Clips because that video is very funny.
You're awesome. I'm so proud of you. Your family loves you. Thank you. Some of you white people.
I don't really know why it's a big deal. I don't. What's so wrong about that, people?
Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, I know what's wrong with it because I know Kai, but I mean,
What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, I just happen to know what's wrong with it because I know who Kai is.
What's wrong with the video?
Listen, Kai is
I'm not
is
asking
pretty,
about Kai. I'm asking what's wrong with the video.
Kai is definitely pretty.
Okay, you're gonna continue to talk about Kai. I'm asking about the video.
Well, it's because of the intention that goes into the video.
What? It's Dean. It's okay to be white. I hope you know that.
So, I mean, are you going to listen to what I have to say?
If you're gonna answer my question, what's wrong with the video?
Well, I was trying to answer it. Then you interrupted me.
No, you kept
asking.
You kept saying Kai's this, Kai's this.
I said the intention of the video. I just happen to know who Kai is. Kai's pretty racist. The reason he probably made that video is, like rooted in like some mark of racism. Just because I know like him as a person, he's pretty racist. But
was this assumption? Or
well, just no, it's a fact. I mean, I talked to him about his racism last time he joined. I'll just kind of leave that as cringe. Now, please respond to my argument.
What's your argument? Because I've stated before.
Yeah, Donald Trump is an authoritarian who's attempted to circumvent the powers vested in SCOTUS to interpret the Constitution, as well as the powers vested in Congress to change the Constitution. It has attempted to consolidate said power illegally to the executive branch of our government, and in doing so, he has now passed executive orders that are explicitly unconstitutional and strip the rights away from people in which deserve them per the Constitution, which would not only be a mark of authoritarianism, but also an explicit contradiction to putting America first, as putting America first would mean putting the core values of this country first, and we both agree that the Constitution would be a core value of the country.
So is this the first authoritarian in history that's trying to limit the power of the government and actually shrink the size of the government?
He's not shrinking the size of the government, he's expanding it.
Really? So like making cuts to certain government agencies that Doge cuts were doing? So what is that, for example?
Yeah, we cut 120 billion, then added 5 trillion.
Okay, but again, we're cutting waste.
No, it's not cutting waste. It's just cutting what he doesn't want, then replacing it with even more.
Okay,
like,
so
if he truly cared about how much our government spends, then why is he making our government spend more?
So like cutting transgender surgeries in Libya or circumcisions in South America, you want that?
I mean, I would definitely prefer $5 million being going to Libya compared to $3.5 trillion being spent on the big beautiful bill that's rescinding access to healthcare for 10 million Americans, access to food stamps for 3 million Americans.
I was like adjusting the age on SNAP
lunches for 18 million Americans.
Preschool lunches aren't going away. There's under the government agriculture, and also if you want to talk about, let's say, for example, like the left, including you, like to claim, oh, rural hospitals are going to shut down, yet there's surplus funding being added into that bill. They're getting $50 billion more worth of funding to rural.
So it's funny that you just happen to not respond to anything that I bring up, and then bring up a point that you think other liberals make, dude. If you're going to be on this live, feel free to debate me.
You've literally said that in one of your own videos, Dean.
Right, and I'll happily talk to you about the impact on rural hospitals that we will see because 10 million people are being cut off of Medicaid, and because the premiums for Medicaid are expected to go up by 75% due to the $900 billion in cuts. But I'd appreciate if you could respond to one of the points that I brought up originally, such as the fact that 10 million people are being cut off of Medicaid. How does it make you feel?
Okay, so are you talking about the people who think they deserve hormone or transgender surgeries being kicked off of that, or are you talking about illegals who are receiving health care?
No, I'm talking about U.S. citizens. There's 10 million U.S. citizens who are losing access to Medicaid because of, one, the cuts in the bill that are now making it unaffordable to many low-income Americans, and two, the introduction of new work requirements for the first time in history.
Such as
the work requirements and the cuts?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Could you go further?
Now Medicaid is requiring able-bodied Americans to work at least 80 hours a month in order to qualify for Medicaid, given that they're low income.
Oh, wow. So able-bodied people who can work, are you saying shouldn't have to work to receive Medicare?
Yes, it is exactly what I'm saying. Good job.
So people who can actually work, they have nothing wrong with themselves, to prevent them from going to work, should get free healthcare just because, they just don't feel like working.
Yeah, I don't think that essential social services should have a work requirement on them, and I think that you agree. Do you think that there should be a work requirement on other essential social services, like public roadways, firefighters, or policemen?
We pay taxes into that. What are you talking about?
Right, the same way we pay taxes into Medicaid.
Right, but I don't think people who are for Medicaid specifically should receive free Medicare who don't work.
So then why should they receive free access to public roadways if they don't work? Don't say it's because the roadways are essential. Guess what? Healthcare is also essential.
Okay, but I think this is a little different.
Yeah, what's the relevant difference?
Because not necessarily everybody needs Medicare, but again, if you are a healthy person,
Yeah, every single low-income Americans needs health insurance. Yeah.
I mean, if you're a healthy person, you might not need to go to the hospital at all, actually.
Yeah, even healthy people need an annual physical checkup for preventative
You
health care.
don't need one. You don't need one. That's complete. But again, comparing roadways to healthcare is completely. There's
Okay,
not even.
so why do you think there shouldn't be a work requirement on roadways, but there should be a work requirement on Medicaid?
I don't. I just don't. It doesn't make. You again. You already pay into that. Again, I'm saying.
Wait. Like low-income Americans that aren't meeting that work requirement, that aren't working, aren't paying taxes, so they're not paying into that.
All able-bodied people should have a job. Meaning, if you have a job, you're paying taxes for Medicare. You're paying taxes for the roads. If you're able-bodied, you should be working.
Wait,
that's
listen.
my argument.
No, that's not a counter argument though, because in fact I agree with you. Yeah, if you're able-bodied, you should be working. Nobody fucking disagrees with that. We just think
You
that
just
policy.
did.
No.
You just did.
No. I understand that
You just.
I understand that intellectual debate is new to you. I'll happily explain it.
You just said that people who aren't working should receive health care.
The less you talk, the less you'll embarrass yourself, because I'm about to clear it up and make it make sense. Let me know when you're done.
I just quoted you, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah, just because I think that able-bodied individuals should work doesn't mean that I think healthcare policy that is an essential social services that saves life should be the thing to get it done, right? I think that policy to incentivize employment should be separate and decoupled from policy that saves people's lives, right? And like typically we agree with this. Essential social services, right, don't have a work requirement on them, shouldn't have a work requirement on them, and we as a society all agree that regardless of how much you pay in taxes or don't pay in taxes, you should have access to them. Really good examples. Public roadways, another really good example. Firefighters, another really good example. Policemen and women, right? Another good example. Healthcare for low-income Americans. These are all things that people need to live. And because people need these things to live, because people need these things to flourish, because these things are incredibly important and vital to a well-functioning society, they shouldn't have a work requirement on them. And my argument's clear here. We agree that able-bodied people should work. We agree that our government should have policy to influence that. We just disagree that the policy that influences that should be policy that saves lives, right? Like, for instance, we're going to go right back to the argument I was just giving you that you couldn't respond to. I see no relevant distinction between me paying taxes to fund public roadways and somebody that doesn't pay taxes driving on those public roadways, and you saying that because they don't pay taxes they shouldn't be able to drive those public roadways, and you saying that because they don't pay taxes they shouldn't have access to Medicaid. Can you please give me the distinction?
Okay, but again, what people are we talking about? People who aren't paying or driving on this roadway? Who are these people? Because this is just, again...
Do you think that low-income, able-bodied Americans that don't work and are unemployed should be able to drive on the public roadways that taxpayers fund?
I think you're speaking of a fictional character. What person who doesn't work can drive a car on a roadway?
Wait, you don't think that unemployed people can drive cars? What?
You don't think that they pay taxes in their life at all?
Wait, no. A lot of unemployed people have been employed in the past or will be employed again.
Okay, so they have paid taxes to some extent.
Okay, can we just say this about the same thing about Medicaid? It's unrealistic to assume that unemployed people haven't paid taxes before or will pay again, and because they've paid taxes to some extent, they should be able to claim Medicaid without being employed today, even if they're able-bodied, meaning that you no longer support the new work requirement imposed on it?
It's different paying something that's already built and, again, going to the hospital for a new payment. For example, if an unemployed person
wait. You think that roads are just built then ignored? Dude,
so
what?
You're complaining about interrupting.
No, that's bad.
That's
really
interrupting,
bad.
And I stop and I let you speak. But when I speak, you just talk over me the entire time.
Yeah, but
anytime you try speaking, I say one thing, you put your hand out.
I did interrupt you. Calm down. I'll admit it. Sorry, I just got excited because you said that roads are built, paid for, then never touched again. No, every single time there's a car that drives on a roadway, it does damage to said roadway, and the roadway has to be replaced, repaired, and fixed about every 2 to 4 years, depending on the type of maintenance that is required.
Obviously, yes. I'm not denying that roadways don't get worked on after the fact. Semi-trucks and companies pay more taxes because they do more damage to roads, obviously, than a regular car does. But again, my whole argument here is you agree with me, by the way. You said you don't think able-bodied people should not be they should be working. You said that already in the beginning, and then you also said the government should somehow enforce that, which is what Trump administration is doing through the big beautiful bill.
Well, I never said it should be enforced. I think it should be incentivized. Right, big difference. And by the way, what is your response to the idea that? Do you agree that what is your response to the idea that necessary or essential social programs shouldn't have a work requirement on them, and that healthcare is essential, therefore healthcare shouldn't have a work requirement on it either?
Oh, so the example you said, fire department, correct, or police department or whatever.
Yep.
So the people who are working for this department also pay taxes, correct? Right. So there's tax revenue coming in, and again, there's people out here who aren't taxpayers. There's kids who don't pay taxes. Obviously, they get help from
able-bodied American adults that are not employed. Call the cops to report crimes that cost taxpayers dollars to fund the salary of the police officers, equipment, and so on. Do you think that calling the cops should have a work requirement on it?
No. Okay. Again, that's authoritarian right there. No. What I'm saying is
why?
obviously.
Wait, no. Answer the question. Why should that not have a work requirement on it?
Because there are small amounts of scenarios where people aren't able-bodied workers or who are unemployed, like this, for example, obviously calling the police or calling the fire department. These are very small amounts of situations that happen. But I'm saying specifically for Medicare, you should be an able-bodied worker.
Wait, so you're saying, so your logic here in explaining why you think that there shouldn't be a work requirement on calling the cops is because you don't think it happens often. I don't think you have the empirics to demonstrate that. I think that was just a rhetorical talking point. But here's what I'll suggest to prove you wrong nonetheless. If the amount of unemployed people that called the cops to report crimes was larger, then would you say that calling the cops should have a work requirement on it?
Not necessarily, no, because again, I don't think that's a true fact.
Right. Well, it wasn't. I didn't give you a fact. I gave you a question. Questions can't be true or false. Facts are true. So you're already twisted, right?
No,
but I just want to clarify. You just told us that if the
I
proportion of individuals that called the cops to report crimes and spent the taxpayers' dollars on the time, salary, and equipment of the police were unemployed and were able-bodied, could work but weren't, you would still yet say that it shouldn't have a work requirement on it. Why?
No, because there are some social programs that work. Some.
Oh, wait. So you're saying that because the police force generates positive outcomes for society, it shouldn't have a work requirement on it? So would the analogous response here be if Medicaid generated positive outcomes for society, it shouldn't have a work requirement on it?
What do you mean by positive outcomes that Medicaid would provide?
Any and all. Anything that positively benefits society. That is good outcomes. I mean, that's all that you specified for why you don't think calling the police should have a work requirement on it. You didn't positively identify specific good outcomes. You just said it generates good outcomes, therefore it shouldn't have a work requirement on it.
Sure. I mean, to an extent, yes. Like I just said, for social program, there are some social programs that work.
Okay. So if Medicaid works, then Medicaid shouldn't have a work requirement on it.
What do you mean by works?
Whatever you mean when you just said it.
I'm saying the police provide a service. The fire department provides a service. I'm not saying necessarily that.
So if a social program provides a service to those that need it, it shouldn't have a work requirement on it. Is that your position?
It depends what the social program is. And for example,
why does it depend? Why does it depend? Why does it depend? What is the difference? What is the difference?
Say 10 times, okay, I won't interrupt you, but then you continue to do it over and over.
I know, I'm just getting so excited because I'm slam dunking right now.
You don't give good faith debates whatsoever.
I'm giving a good faith debate. Just because I'm interrupting doesn't mean I'm good faith. It just means I'm excited.
It's pretty rude. And you don't, okay, excited is a weird word. But no, you're just being rude at interrupting. I've been fairly respectful. I've been fairly calm in letting you speak as well. But, when I speak, you seem to just interrupt over and over. And you do it every live pretty much.
Well, yeah, I did interrupt you. Fine. W call it, whatever. Please respond.
Respond to what? I wasn't listening to you. You were interrupting me.
Yeah, for sure. Respond to the fact that I've continually asked you to identify why you don't think that calling the cops should have a work requirement on it. I've now worked you down to saying...
I've answered that like 3 times.
Well, okay. You just interrupted me. Hey, buddy, middle finger.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where's the TikTok ban?
Yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get because you just got on my ass about interrupting you to deflect away from the fact that I'm cooking you.
No.
And then the first thing that you do is you interrupt me.
I've answered the question like 3 times.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be honest. Every response that you've given to that question has been different. Like, for instance, your first response to that question was to say it shouldn't have a work requirement on it because the amount of able-bodied American adults that don't work that call the cops is low. Your second response was to say it's because it generates good outcomes. And then your third response was the same as the second response. You just repeated that it generates good outcomes.
The same solution. Same solution.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask you one more time. Everybody, I'm going to give them the mic. I'm not going to interrupt them because I really want a clear answer here. Why should calling the cops and spending the taxpayer's dollar on police officers not have a work requirement on it for able-bodied American adults that don't work, but going to the hospital should?
Again, like I've said, maybe four times now. I'll say the 5th time for you. So I believe there's some social programs that work. I think police forces, fire departments, EMT, whatever you want to say, I think those are okay. But again, like I said, specifically with Medicare, I think you should be paying into the system. I think if you are an able-bodied person to receive Medicare, you should be going and working these, 8 hours it was? 8 hours a month? That's absolutely nothing.
I see the issue. I see why we're speaking past each other. Can I tell you why?
Why is that?
It's because you're not actually answering my question. You're just repeating it, right? Because the question that I'm asking you is why should one have a work requirement on it, meanwhile the other shouldn't? And then your response is to say that you think one shouldn't and one should. Like, you're not telling me why. You're just repeating the fact that you think one should and one shouldn't, right? Like, for instance, your response right there. You said, well, some work, right? Like the police officer, you don't think that should have a work requirement on it, but like others, they should have a work requirement on it. You know, if you want Medicaid, you should have to work 80 hours a month, 80 hours a month, right? But that's not an answer to the question on why. That's just like you repeating the original claim that this is what you think. Right? So I'm asking you to explain why you think this by detailing specifically why some social programs that are funded by the tax dollars should have a work requirement on it. Meanwhile, you don't think others should. Like, give me the difference. What is the difference between Medicaid and calling the cops that in your mind necessitates a work requirement on Medicaid, but does not necessitate a work requirement on calling the cops? I think, just real quick before you respond, for everybody watching, is the question that I'm asking here like clear? I mean, I think it's pretty clear, but be honest, be fair in the chat. Is it clear? If it's not clear, tell me now so I could find a more clear way to present the question so we could get a good answer. Okay, so far everybody in the YouTube chat is spamming yes. Everybody in the TikTok chat is spamming yes. How about this? Yankee News. Is the question that I'm asking you clear to you?
Sure, yeah. And again...
Okay, just to make sure it's clear, can you repeat it just so we're on the same page? So we stop talking past each other, repeat the question that I want you to respond to.
You're asking me why I think that police departments, for example, should be... no work requirement, no work requirement, but with hospitals and Medicaid, it should be correct.
Yeah, that is a question I'm asking you. Please respond.
So police departments, fire departments, those are all government funded and government ran, right? Local governments, you know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hospitals aren't government ran, right? Those are private institutions.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like a college. So. Again, it's a for-profit business. So if it's for-profit, then how is it going to run if it's not profiting? Unless you're advocating for government-ran hospitals, and then again, now we don't need to have a work requirement because it's government-ran and it's
whoa. Okay.
People. I'm saying it's a private institution.
Okay. Hospitals are private. Police forces are public.
Right.
Hospitals generate a profit. Police forces don't.
It's a social program is what it is, yeah.
Okay. I actually think that this should just give more reason for Medicaid not having a work requirement on it, because all that you're telling me here is that when we spend the taxpayer's dollar on police, it doesn't like have any reciprocal effects on our economy. It doesn't like aid and abet in like higher wages. It doesn't aid and abet in GDP growth. It doesn't aid and abet in more like taxable revenue for our government. But because hospitals are for profit and are privately owned, pay wages and stay in business, it does aid and abet in GDP growth. It does aid and abet in furthering our economy. It does aid and abet in like an increase in government taxable revenue.
Yeah, but what you're just saying,
so like one has like a positive economic impact, the other doesn't. So why should we like restrict spending taxpayers' dollars on things that have a positive economic impact, but we shouldn't restrict spending taxpayers' dollars on things that don't have a positive economic impact? What is this shit?
What? Okay, so I'm going to break down what you just said. So you said that you said police departments don't have any positive growth for GDP, is what you said?
Well, I guess the wages that are paid to the police officers do. And wait, actually, that just brings up another point. What's the difference?
What's the difference between what?
Yeah,
exactly?
Like doctors go to work, they get paid by the taxpayers' dollars through like Medicaid as an insurance, then turn around, they pay taxes on that and they engage in the economy. Cops go to work, they get paid through the taxpayers' dollars. You know, they get a stipend from their local government, state government, and sometimes even a little bit of benefit from the federal government. They turn around, they pay taxes on that, and they contribute to the economy. What's a relevant difference insofar as why you think one should have a work requirement and the other shouldn't? I think that you've confused yourself.
No, I don't think that doctors and hospital workers get directly paid by taxpayers. They get paid by the private institution. I think there's a slight difference.
Okay.
I think that just isn't true.
Okay, so yeah, they get paid a paycheck, and that paycheck comes from the hospital, and the hospital gets money from the insurance.
Correct, but not everyone is paying hospital bills with government money from the government itself.
So you're just saying not 100% of the doctor's paycheck is funded by Medicaid?
No, you can't even. I don't even.
And somehow this explains why Medicaid should have a work requirement on it. You're definitely confusing yourself.
I don't think you're gauging that correctly, and I don't think you can gauge. And I think what you just said is incorrect.
Wait. What I just said is that 100% of a doctor's paycheck doesn't come from Medicaid. You think that's wrong?
You said the doctor gets paid by the government money. You said that.
Yeah, because the government money is paid out through insurance, which goes to the hospital, and then the hospital spends some of that money on the paychecks for the employees, which would include the doctors.
Okay, but I don't think you can gauge where that money's going. So to sit here and say that hospital workers are all paid by the government dollar or are mine and your tax dollars, I don't think is just completely true. You can't gauge that. You don't know what their profitability is, where their money's coming from the government money. You don't know where the government money's going. You don't know where they're allocating that.
Of course, we would say that in part that's what it's paid by. The same way we'd say in part the tax dollars pay are, like for instance, like the taxes that I pay. In part they fund Israel. Why? Because I pay taxes. My taxes account for a certain proportion of our government's revenue, and then our government's revenue accounts for a certain proportion of the expenditure in Israel. Right? Would it be fair to say, therefore, my tax dollars pay for Israel?
In the statement you just said, yes.
Okay. Well, then it'd also be fair to say that some of like the doctor's income is paid for by the taxpayer too, because I pay taxes. A certain proportion of that goes to Medicaid, then a certain proportion of that goes to hospitals, and a certain proportion of that goes to the doctors. Meaning at the end of the day, some of the taxes that I pay goes to the paycheck of a doctor. So it is fair to say that. You're wrong.
Again, yeah, sure.
Thank you for the concession. I appreciate you for the concession.
No, I said you can say that. I didn't say it's right. I said you can say that.
Wait. Well, if I was wrong, then you'd say I can't say that.
No, you can say whatever you want. We're both on here saying whatever we'd like.
Okay, well then you're just giving a disingenuous, baseless response. You're not actually engaging in the substance of my position. You're just saying, oh, you can say that because you literally have free will. Yeah, that's a great argument. That is a great argument. Yeah, I prove him wrong, and then he's like, Dean, you are exercising your free will to say these words, and that's all I have to say about that.
Because instead of him interrupting, he just mutes the mic, so I just completely am unheard. Again, you're saying I'm disingenuous. You're saying I'm not good faith. Yeah, that's been
no, bro. That's still bad faith. No, think about it, bro. Think about it, bro. Literally, just think about how. Yankee News.
Thank you for the gifts, everybody.
Oh no, he's crashing out. He's crashing out because I just proved how like disingenuous he is. Okay. Are you ready to listen very closely to my argument that you're disingenuous as fuck?
Okay, so what's your next goal here? Because
to describe to you why you're so disingenuous.
You just completely. Oh, thanks, Tony. Thank you for the banana.
Oh,
this is what you're
crashing out. Okay.
This is what you like to do. You like to just circle around. You throw in hypotheticals. You're disingenuous. You're not.
Dude, you're getting cooked. Yankee News. You're getting absolutely fucking broiled by me right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so let's go. So Russia, Ukraine. You were schooled. And completely ran away from.
Oh, guys, he's gonna start puffing his chest now that he's cooked.
Okay, and number two, then we go through this whole thing where you just go down a long rabbit hole away.
He's crashing out.
You go away from the entire debate.
Does anybody have a sad violin? I don't know.
Okay, everybody. So thanks for all the gifts, and thanks for tuning in to my live with Dean here.
Are you gonna run now?
My live, everybody. You won't have a good debate. You lost the first part. And
no way, he's gonna run. Listen, bro.
You go down.
We're just gonna do a quick timeout.
So
I'm not even like muting you to overspeak you. I'm just like muting you to stop it so we can calm down. I won't speak when I'm muting you either. I'm seriously doing this to help you calm down because I don't want you to get like too emotionally flustered and leave. Because I want you to like hear me out here for why you're wrong, right? Like the point of these lives is like the slam dunks like I have on you. The point of these lives is to change minds, right? And I want to try to change yours. But obviously, I'm gonna need you to calm down first. Can't change the mind of somebody that is emotional as my 6-year-old nephew when he gets the Xbox taken away from him at 9:30 p.m. by his parents. I just left. Oh.